Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wavemakers Podcast, where we feature the stories of the people leading the change at the intersection of maritime, decarbonization, and digital transformation. My guest today is truly a trailblazer when it comes to shaping climate, environmental, and safety policies. She's been involved at the IMO. She's been the voice of Danish ship owners for over 13 years when it comes to these topics. Currently, she's serving as the Director of Environmental Regulatory and Public Affairs at Bunker Holdings. And beyond that, she's also a board member at numerous organizations when it comes to the transition of green shipping. Beyond policy and regulations, she's also a strong advocate for collaboration and women supporting women. And it is my honor today to welcome Maria Skipper Schwenn.
Thank you so much, Gordana. I'm really happy to be here.
It's been a story of synchronicity how you came here today, and I'm really happy for this episode. Behind all these titles, I wanted to ask you, who are you? How would you describe yourself?
Well, I am a very dedicated person with a background in political science and European studies, so not the typical shipping background, and now working in the bunker industry. I'm not a trader either. Besides that, I'm a mother. I'm the mother of three, and then I have, when I married my husband, he had 3 kids already, so we have 6 in total.
Oh, wow.
And then I just didn't think I had enough to do in my life, so I got myself a hunting dog on top of that. So I would say I'm a political scientist working in doing advocacy in the shipping sector, and then I'm a mother. Those 2 words, lobbyist and mother.
I don't know how you manage it all, but maybe I'll find out. And what was your journey into shipping?
Well, actually, that was a bit of a coincidence. See, it's funny, my last name is Skipper, right? So I heard a lot, I've been teased a lot about, with that name, right? But it was actually by coincidence that I ended up in the shipping sector, because I started out working in Brussels in the European Parliament as a political assistant to one of the Danish members of the parliament. And then I was going on maternity leave. That was in 2008. And the elections were in the summer of 2009. So I went back to Denmark, was on maternity leave, and I knew I was looking for a new job, right? Mm-hmm. And that was during the financial crisis. So, jobs were they were difficult to get. And then by coincidence and by luck, I had a former colleague of mine from the parliament in Brussels. She was working for the Danish ship owners, but got a new job. And then she told me, she spoke to her boss and why don't you come by for a cup of coffee? Mm-hmm. And I did, and I thought it was just an informal conversation, but that actually ended up being the job interview, right? So that's how I started out, by working for the Danish ship owners in 2009. Just weeks before the COP15 was in Copenhagen. So that was basically my journey into shipping. So by coincidence.
Wow, that was an acceleration. And then it never stopped.
Exactly. But I think, this industry, it's a club. Either you are there, for a short while and you leave, or you stay and you may move around within the industry, but it is like a club. So, and for the moment, I couldn't imagine, working in any other industry, because this is such a fascinating industry.
And what motivates you to push for green transition so much? Where does that come from?
Well, because I can see that there is really a potential here. The shipping sector is 80% of all goods. If you look at this room, almost everything, 80% of all things in this room has been on the sea at some point, right? And at the same time, the sector is responsible for close to 3% of global emissions, right? So there is a huge potential. The shipping industry is burning the residual product, so the nastiest heavy fuel oil, right? Mm. And there is a potential for really decarbonizing this sector. And that's what drives me, that there is something to do.
Was there any fun story in all these years within maritime sector, or some memorable moment that also inspired you?
I've had many moments to remember. And if I can, mention a couple of other examples and then come back to decarbonization, because I was also in charge of environment and security at Danish shipping. So first of all, I would like to mention back in 2015. Some of our members were recycling vessels, and as you know, most of the world fleet is being scrapped in India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, right? A lot of criticism. It got to the media. Danish politicians, the Minister for Environment got involved. And that's when we decided at Danish shipping, because we'd also been told that there were actual improvements taking place in certain yards in India, along the Alang beach in India. So we decided to do a study trip, basically, to go and visit and see with our own eyes. This was before the EU ship recycling regulation was adopted. But in order to actually see it with our own eyes, so we went together with a couple of members, and that was a really huge experience. I've seen a vessel being beached. I have a video. Basically, we were standing on the beach and this huge tanker just approached, and it didn't stop. Wow. It was like at a certain point you took, you just started to move backwards because this huge vessel was just landed on the beach. But to visit and speak with those yard owners and a younger new generation that were so engaged in making environmental improvements in safety for the workers, etc. That was really, really inspiring. Another example was when Maersk Etienne, the tanker vessel operating in the Mediterranean, had come across a number of people in distress and a small boat sinking. It was migrants at sea, and they did the duty of what seafarers do. They pick up people in distress and they rescue them. But the thing was, they got caught in the middle of the political deadlock between the Mediterranean countries, so they couldn't disembark these. I think it was like 27 people ended up being on board Maersk Etienne for 37 days, and it was really intolerable. There, I was also deeply involved in finding a solution, and in the end, it ended up being an Italian NGO vessel with the medical assistant that went and did a medical checkup on the people on board, and based on that evaluation, they asked the Italian authorities for permission to call an Italian port. This was an Italian flagged vessel, the NGO vessel. So therefore, Italy could not deny them entry into the port. And that's how the migrants, they finally got off and the situation were ended. That was one of the also a moment where that I really still, keep in my heart, because that were, real people. We were talking about the crew on board and these migrants. Yeah, and then last but not least, when it comes to decarbonization, I still remember the day in 2011 at IMO when the EEDI, the Energy Efficiency Design Index, was adopted. That was the first measure setting energy efficiency requirements for new builds. I still remember the atmosphere in the plenary. It was really a special moment. The same when the 2018 strategy, GHG strategy, was adopted. It was a very, very special moment, and I really hope we're going to have the same kind of atmosphere on April 11 in a few months' time when hopefully we have the approval of the midterm measures.
That one is gonna be quite interesting. How does it feel also in these rooms at these moments? Is it like the tension, the excitement, or some are scared of what would be the final outcome?
It's a very special atmosphere. All the IMO delegations, these are, hardworking civil servants, but they have been many of them have been there for years, right? So they know each other, right? So even though they may disagree and they come with different positions, etc., they all have a mutual respect for each other. So there is also a very, nice and friendly atmosphere, almost like a little bit of an IMO family, right? So you would also hear jokes, especially, the chair would throw a joke, and people, the whole room would start laughing and but of course, when it really gets down to okay, now we're closing in on a deal, you can also see some tension and some, bold steps needs to be made in order for a decision to be made. But it is a very special moment when people are looking around and know, yes, we have an agreement, and people will start, clapping and yeah.
It must be very special to observe how all these conversations, negotiations actually end up affecting and shaping the world, and all the three stories indicate of how much it means to you also to drive impact and to see it and to feel it. And
yes,
I think you're one of the few that actually gets the chance to be on both sides, like to negotiate for something, but then also to have that feeling of seeing it play out in real life.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, now, especially, when I left Danish shipping, I wanted to get closer to the commercial side of things. I wanted to learn more. So I've been on a steep learning curve for the last 18 months. But really now I can see, Bunker holding the number of biofuel deliveries, the number of ports where we now have done the groundwork so that we're able to actually deliver. It takes a lot of work. I actually didn't know that before, right? So for me, it's been a huge learning experience to be able to, and a true pleasure to be able to, on the one hand, see the regulatory framework and then actually see it play out in practice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With regards to that, and being able to look back into the past 10, 15, 20 years, how do you see things changing? How did the culture change also with this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say things have really evolved, since 2009. I think the pace at which the regulatory measures are being adopted and implemented has really picked up. But you also see a younger generation now taking over as CEOs and in the boardrooms. So there is a different approach. I think it's fair to say, I don't think I'm going to offend anybody by saying that shipping is a quite conservative sector. But that is really changing as well. And you see a lot of very courageous moves. You see startups, you see digitalization, etc. And you see not the traditional shipping people. You see, I used to, tongue in cheek say, the guys with the funny glasses and the jeans, because it's a different kind of people. It's that they take on board now. It's not necessarily the traditional shipping people, right? They need people that can do digitalization. They need people that can do cybersecurity, things like that, because in order to stay relevant for the future, this industry needs to also to disrupt itself in certain ways.
Yeah, they need different profiles now and different backgrounds.
Exactly. And that makes it, that makes it funny, right? Just at Maersk, I think, and again, I think I'm not going to offend anybody by saying that Maersk has, been a very traditional company. And when I started in 2009, even though I was working at Danish shipping, but, we all knew that, Maersk, they had a dress code, quite a conservative one, but that has changed. Like, they don't wear a tie anymore and things like that, jeans are allowed. And it's not that they can't dress up or that they don't, but it's just been, different profiles and different people into the shipping industry that does change things, right?
Yes, and I have experienced that too, how there is now the culture of embracing who you are and how you feel more and showing up as you are at work.
Exactly.
And I have joined also in that new age environment where we could just come in sneakers. There were people in sneakers as well, and I would hear stories from some of the colleagues who have been there for a longer time, how it was and how it was quite rigid and very much defined, and how that is now totally different because of this intersection of shipping and tech. And by Maersk merging the two, the culture has changed because it had to accommodate very different profiles of people.
Yeah, you know better than that. You're ex-Maersk, so you know, of course, yeah.
And how did the industry shape you? What have you learned from the industry?
I've learned about, good business acumen. I think that's really what defines this industry. People can be tough, but the ones that are really good are also the ones that are really, the good guys, the good ladies that, they have an eye for, all their employees, and take the time to say good morning and ask how people are doing and actually mean it. I sense that, that's what it takes to be successful within this industry, right? That does not mean that you can't be tough, because I think you also have to be. It's a tough business, right? But I think really it good people is what defines the shipping sector.
I find it also interesting, and I wonder oftentimes how to balance those two, how to be human-centric and empathic and able to notice slight changes in people, while also being very business-driven and professional, and to have your boundaries.
Yes.
I'm trying to learn that balance more and more.
And that is that's the difficulty about being a good leader, not necessarily a manager, but a leader. That's when you can do both. Be both. You need to set the course and give guidance and direction, but at the same time also have the genuine empathy for the people around you, right?
Yeah.
And be able to read them, and be able to give the best working conditions, and be able to see the difference in the people in your team. Of course, I'm not talking about a company with 1,000 employees. That's that's when you have people below you that will then be leaders as well, right? But the people in your core team, you really need to be able to tell the differences and be able to identify how to create the best working conditions for this person, how to make people strive, right?
Yeah. Now that you're saying that, I'm also reflecting on the similarities of being able to identify these changes in human behavior and get the most out of this. And these are usually nuances, and it's usually many months before something is brought up as, okay, this is something to work on. And at the same time, that same skill, I would assume, is very useful in the business context, and being able to detect small changes in the market dynamics and to predict that.
Of course, yeah. But actually, one other thing, when you said, what has changed, throughout the years, that's the number of women in this industry. When I started, I was very often the only woman in the room. I was also the youngest. So for, quite a few years, I always felt that I had to be, just a little bit more prepared than everybody else. Because, I had this clear feeling of I had to do a little bit more to prove myself. Maybe it was just, my own imagination. Because I was never been put down. Yes, not because I didn't, do my job well. I've definitely seen I've experienced some sexist remarks and stuff like that. But just the fact when you enter a room, right, it does take a little. You need to do a little bit more of that, when you were the only woman and you were the youngest. So when I became a leader of the team at Danish Shipping, I was also the youngest, and I was the woman, and I was the one not with the technical background of this team. So that was also, a challenge that I had to work my way through.
Yes, I would assume even the internal pressure, maybe it's not even external, but internal pressure to be able to rise the bar and to be able to steer the way.
Exactly.
For people who are maybe domain experts, and then trying to make an informed decision about that and how to guide them as well.
Exactly. And dealing with some very technical subjects such as decarbonization and environment, etc. Like, of course, there would always be people in the room that were either, naval architects or former seafarers, etc. So, just that always gave me a little bit of like, okay, I definitely have to be, prepared. Like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now I will take you to a lighter course. And I will ask you the question that we discussed ahead, and you said, I have no idea what I will say. But which ship would you be if you were a ship, and why?
Okay. Well, I would be an offshore support vessel. So an offshore support vessel is a vessel that is basically supporting the offshore sector, obviously, but it can be a variety of it can carry out a variety of functions, right? But I think that's really defines me. I can take on a lot of different tasks, but it needs to have a purpose, and an offshore vessel has the purpose of building the infrastructure and the wind farms, etc., and of course also oil and gas exploitation, but definitely the purpose-driven vessel, and that's how I see an offshore support vessel.
This makes total sense. Now when you shared all these stories, and also when I know your background, it's also a lot about the community and driving the change from that side. Is there any advice that you have gotten in the past that you would remember often when you were charting your way in your career in maritime?
Yeah. To always believe in yourself, even when the going gets tough. And you may fall, but you will rise again. That was a wise person that once told me that. And yes, when you deal with tough political negotiations and in a costly pathway, decarbonization, and there might be setbacks, right? You don't give up. You continue to believe. And sometimes, I joke about, when people are asking me, so do you think we're going to get an IMO deal and stuff like that, right? I always like, you may call me naive, but I do believe that we will get a deal. If I didn't believe it, I wouldn't be able to stand working with this if I didn't believe that it was actually possible, right?
Yes, that is probably one of the unique traits for everyone who is pushing the bar and being that front runner. And again, it wouldn't come from an authentic place and with strength if it wasn't truly what you believed in. Yes, that I will remember now, this advice. I also sometimes think, I don't know what I'm doing, but it feels right that I would still do it if no one cared and if nothing would happen. So I guess that's the right way.
Exactly. And sometimes, believe in your intuition. Yeah. That's, And you will make mistakes. We all do.
Yes.
And don't be afraid of making mistakes. It's better to make a mistake and then rectify and make up for it than not to do, not to act.
I have had some moments also in the previous year or two when I thought, okay, this was... At that moment, it thought, okay, maybe this is a mistake or this didn't turn out the way I planned. And then later when time passes, I realized that was so good that it didn't happen. It was not it was just a wrong direction for me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good for someone else, but this was steering me down my own path. And even when it came to this episode, how somehow I had a cancellation, I had no idea what I would do or if I would do it. And then you tell me, okay, I'm free.
Yeah.
Again, sometimes we don't control things, but
Exactly.
they come together when it's the right time.
Exactly. And things happen for a reason.
Yes.
And you may not realize that, when it happens, but then later, everything happens for a reason.
Yes. With those optimistic eyes and looking into the future of everything being possible, how would you paint that future?
I think we will see a different sector in 2040. We will see a shipping sector, transport by sea, with less emissions. We will be on our way to net zero. We will not be there yet, but we will definitely have, different vessel types, engines, etc. There will be more of the methanol, of the ammonia-driven vessels on the water. There will also still be traditional vessels on the water, but maybe we'll have, technology that will do the carbon capture, things like that. I think we will have several pathways to decarbonizing the sector. And 2040, we will still have, a variety of these paths still functioning, and then they will slowly be narrowed down towards 50. Then I think we will also see a lot more of a digitalized industry, a lot more seamless industry than we have today. A lot of paperwork and stuff like that will be abolished, completely changed. Yeah, exactly. And then I hope that we see more women in this industry, both onshore and on board the vessels. But I definitely think we will see a strong maritime sector, and seaborne trade will remain the backbone of world trade.
Mm-hmm. I'm now very curious of how it all comes together, because we are seeing some of the pilots, and I'm curious to see how different companies will choose their sets of experiments. And then, as you said, eventually they will pick the most efficient, cost-effective ones. But I think it's a fun time in history for the next 10, 15 years to see combinations.
Yes. That's also what when I meet newcomers to the industry, I'm like, you've joined, at the right time, because things are really picking up now. These are really decisive years that we're looking at, right?
Mm-hmm. How would you like your future years to be like and to shape when it comes to the industry, or maybe not, maybe privately?
Well, those two things will have to be in a balance, right? Privately, I love my family and my kids, and of course, as they grow up, I'd love to take them with me sometimes when I travel, because I do travel a lot for work. So hopefully that will be possible. Then I hope that we can continue, contributing to the decarbonization by being the biggest bunker supplier in the world. I think we really have a role to play, and also by shaping the regulation going forward. So for me, I really hope that I can contribute by helping bunker holding, by sitting on the board of the International Bunker Industry Association, EEDI, that I can help also giving the bunker industry a stronger voice in this whole decarbonization process, because it's such an important part of the maritime value chain. So hopefully, with the things that I'm focusing on, I can play my part in shaping the future.
And when it comes to your kids,
Yeah.
Are they curious about what you do or about the industry overall? Do they see themselves in it?
Yeah, they're very curious. You know, they have the Maersk Lego vessels, and they built them and taken them apart several times actually. No, they are, you know, and my oldest, she once did a school project, you know, on like to explain, you know, the decarbonization part, you know, a very, of course, very simplified way, but they are interested.
Yeah.
They are interested and also fascinated by it. Yeah. So sometimes when we, you know, cross the Great Belt Bridge in Denmark, where all the big vessels will have to go out from the Baltic Sea, right? You know, we sometimes use the path, the vessel tracker, you know, on the phone. So when we cross, you know, the bridge, you know, my kids would be like, "Oh, what kind of vessel is that?" So yeah, things like that. But definitely they are fascinating. I don't know if they're gonna go into the industry, right? But they are curious, and especially when I go travel, you know, they always ask, you know, what I'm actually doing. So. Yeah.
Yes, maybe soon you can tag them along.
Yeah.
Maybe I can interview one of them in the future.
Yeah. Then you will have to, well, the oldest, he can speak English, but otherwise it will be difficult.
Oh, my Danish is really bad.
Vi kan godt tale dansk, nej. Just kidding.
Oh, I can read better than I can speak and understand.
Yeah. It's also a very difficult language, but you know, you're Serbian, right?
Yes.
Okay, I wouldn't even try to speak Serbian. So.
I also play this game with Max, so like guessing which vessel is which, like from a distance, and then we actually check and verify who's right and who's wrong.
Yeah.
I think we can slowly wrap it up, and I always give the opportunity to my guest to be the interviewer as well. Mm-hmm. So you're also free to take over the torch and ask them anything.
Okay. So Gordana, what's the best advice that you ever had?
Oh, I had this label. I don't know where I found it or someone told me, but I put it on my room door since I was very young, and it said, "Everything you want, you can do it because you can do whatever you want." But what it means and how I understand is that if some thought or some idea came to you, it came and you were able to conceptualize that because it's meant for you and because you have the abilities to push it through. And this is something that I just hold in the back of my mind always. And when things get tough, I think to myself, okay, this came to me because I can do it. Yeah. And it's hard and sometimes it sucks, but if it wasn't there, it wouldn't come to me. And sometimes it's challenging to have that responsibility with yourself, I think.
Yeah.
But at the end, it is also very rewarding. And I like to remember that when it actually materializes itself. It can be various things, but I feel that I have that connection with my younger self through that statement.
Wow.
So yeah.
So now I'm working for, you know, a huge company, right? You're in a startup. Yes. Well, I don't know if you call yourself a startup.
I think we're still a startup.
Okay. So, and you're two people, right?
Well, now we have 12 more people with us.
Okay. So, okay, let's rewind.
But mostly people think it's just Max and me. I think because we are most often the faces of it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I thought. Okay, but I'm working for a huge company, right? Mm-hmm. And you are a small, although you're not just Max and you're 12 more people, but still a small, still with, you know, startup. What's your, are you ever scared? Like you jumped from, you know, a big, nice job, Maersk, everything, into starting your own. Are you ever scared?
Oh, every day. I go through these cycles every day. Like, I wonder sometimes, like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, why can I not just be happy with a corporate and organized and, you know, cushioned life? And, but I accepted that it's my nature. So I have these thoughts, I hear them out, and I also know that while I was at Maersk and while I was also driving innovation portfolio efforts, I always felt like I should be doing my own thing just because I'm so impatient and I want to be at the forefront of changes. And I always admired the entrepreneurs that I was speaking to. And I remember then that moment, and then I justify my life of adventures. But then at the same time, because I have so much freedom and we can switch many hats, Max and I are pretty much covering a bit of everything, of course with teams, but we still feel like we have to be on top of our game when it comes to every single segment of it, and to grow also at the same time in all these different areas that we had no clue about, but now we have to build some sort of expertise. I mean, it goes from financial to commercial to business development to marketing efforts and onwards, right? So that is challenging, and this is the times when I think like, why am I doing this to myself? And are we crazy that we've put so much into it? And then again, I remember like, okay, this is your nature and it feels good. And it does feel good having that freedom to choose what you want, how you want it, and to execute and to change your mind tomorrow and to change the course because you feel that something needs to be changed. That really resonates with my nature. So it's a trade-off. But it feels like it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
It's been so much and such different experiences. And I feel that I've learned much more about shipping through it because we were able to engage with different sizes of shipping companies, with different stakeholders in the maritime industry, and to really try to understand the impact of regulations from their perspectives. And through that also, by building empathy and understanding for them, understanding why things are the way they are and why certain things are a legacy, found much more appreciation for it even being traditional, as people label it. Rigidness that people associate with industry is because of that, because there are lives at stake. So it's been a very enriching experience.
I'm not sure I could do it, but I definitely, I admire you. I think that's it's really courageous. I'm not sure I could do it myself, but chapeau.
Thank you.
That, yeah.
I mean, how we started it was just, there was no rational thinking behind it.
How do you then, separate, your work life and private life? That doesn't just all flow together, or
I don't know. We don't. It's all jumbled up.
No.
It's once you accept it, you just like it.
Where are you in 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
I hope we successfully materialize our vision for the company. And we really, from the beginning, we really wanted this end-to-end maritime decarbonization scope. I'm trying not to reveal too much about strategy, but I hope we get to build it up to make our vision happen. And then I hope we successfully exit and I get a dog shelter.
Right.
I'm doing this to sponsor a dog shelter.
Yeah, all right. But you have a dog now, don't you?
Yes, I have a dog.
Yeah.
We actually, so I had a dog. My parents had a dog. That was my first dog. And on this journey, Max and I also adopted a dog from Portugal. And now somehow every few months we rescue another dog and help rescue it. So yeah, I think both of us are very weak when it comes to animals. So if it was up to us, we would have 20. But we're trying to think how our adventurous life is not always the best circumstance for many animals at once. Yeah. So now we just like help them and foster them for a short time and help them get a new home, hopefully. But I really enjoy that. And I love... it doesn't matter if it's dogs or any other animals, but I just appreciate that candid connection and
the unconditional love from a dog or an animal. Yeah.
And they just feel and heal, and it's such a beautiful relationship as well to also develop that trust. So yeah, that's one of my future goals. Okay. And everything else, I don't know, because I never thought I would be in shipping, and here I am. So I'm letting some room for surprises.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's definitely some surprises in store for you. Because you're brave.
Well, with that, maybe we can complete this episode, and I hope everyone else enjoyed it and found something for themselves or will in the future. And I look forward to doing another one in some time and seeing how things have changed. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Gudrun. I really enjoyed being here and a really interesting conversation. I'm definitely also going to take that with me. Thank you.